Welcome to All Saints Catholic School e-learning. The big idea we will be exploring today is the past tense for regular verbs, ER verbs. As you know, in French, there are three types of verbs. You've got the verbs that start with ER, IR, and RE. Now, the regular ones are the ones that start with ER. So we're just going to have a look at them in the past tense. For this session, you will need to have watched the big idea video on the past tense ER verbs first. And then you need to also find a quiet place where you can focus and a pen and paper so that you can take some notes. So by the end of this video, you will have recalled how to form the past tense for ER verbs, looked at some example of answers using the past tense, and then finally analyze some answers for the 16 marker and the 32 marker, so foundation and higher. Let's start with a quick activity to recall what we've done in the first video, the big idea. So you've got a few statements, only 3 are true. Which one are they? So let's have a look first at which question you will be able to use the past tense for. So number 1, you've got to use the past tense in the writing, and you've got different tasks in which you need to use the past tense. So you've got the 16 marker, which is in both paper, foundation or higher, the 32 marker, which is only in the higher paper, and the translation, which is in both papers. Now this year you don't have a speaking, but if you had, you would also need to be using it in the speaking, for the photo card and the conversation. It's still good practice for you to practice it just in case you want to carry on with French after your GCSE and have a go at the A level. There would be a speaking exam. Okay, let's have a look at a short activity. I've given you a 16 marker question, so remember it's in the foundation and higher paper. Question is, décrivez une activité sportive récente. You've got 6 sentences. Which sentences answer the question in the correct tense? Good luck. Hopefully you've worked out that sentence 2, 4 and 5 are in the past tense. Sentence 1, 3 and 6 are in the present tense. Remember, the past tense should start with j'ai. Have a look at question 2. J apostrophe AI. So that's the mark of your past tense and should end with E accent. So 1, 3 and 6 do not follow that pattern. Now for 5 and number 4, you've got the negative and you've got the oui. So the j'ai changes into je n'ai pas in the negative and changes into on a for oui. Alright, so moving on, let's have a look at some questions from the GCSE that are taken from the writing or the speaking exam. What do you think would be good answers for them? You can turn to the next slide. There is a table for you to write down your answers. Bonne chance! So you could start your sentences with a time indicator, for example, and I've written down the first one for you, just to start you off. And then think about your verb in the past tense. Remember the pattern, j'ai, E accent, or the negative or the oui, if you want to extend and use more complex sentences. Now your turn. So I've written down for you some example of sentences that you could use. The verbs are in bold in each of the sentences, just so that they stand out and you can have a look at them. Make sure that you understand the verbs make sure that you understand how they are formed so that you can link it with the pattern that we've seen early on. The last one is a higher question. So you could use we instead of I to make it more complex. And as a stretch and challenge, have a look at these sentences. They are quite simple. How can you make them more complex? Maybe you could use an opinion using it was or I liked. Or maybe you could use an adverb using really, extremely, or a connective, however, or maybe a complex structure, and you know many complex structures. Yeah, I was told that after listening to, instead of, or even if, etc. So if you could try and rewrite one of these sentences to make them slightly more complex, you would then work to a grade 6 to 9. If you don't make your sentences more complex, you can still go up to a grade 5, 6 maximum. Your choice. Think about which level you want to work at. Well done. You've managed to do the whole video, so you have recalled the pattern for regular verbs in the past tense. You have looked at some questions to use it, and then practice using some GCSE questions, foundation and higher. I hope this was useful. Merci et au revoir.